Welcome back to another episode of Raspberry Lemonade. Today we have a fellow video industry businessman on the show. Welcome to the show, Brandon Fortino. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Early in the morning. It's pretty chilly, so we're bringing the red jacket back today,
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I think this is my first morning recording of a podcast.
Thank you for making it.
Yeah, no,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you, man. We've been trying to make this happen for a while.
From the 60 seconds to the actual one,
Oh
and
my
the schedule
gosh.
never worked. But now
Now we're here.
There's
Now
a-
it's happening. And
Exactly.
now we have backup mics just in case.
just in case things do, exactly. We learned from the past one.
Literally, what happened as context for everyone in the audience. I was trying to interview Brandon for a 60-second interview. This was a couple WealthCons ago.
Yeah, it's probably like last year.
I think it was last
It
year.
was last year, yeah.
And so, oh my gosh, we just kept missing each other that day. And we finally, at the very end, were
Yeah.
like, okay, let's do it. We're good. I got 5 minutes. Let's do this. Tell me why the audio receiver didn't connect well to the camera.
Dang.
So we
tough.
got all the footage, but none of the audio. And I was like,
Technology.
seriously.
Why
So-
were you relying on this?
Yeah. So now we got the main mic. Brandon brought the secondary mic, which we're going to be, borrowing for this show. So
Yeah.
now the only thing that could go wrong basically is the grid just shutting down or something.
Exactly. Like we're getting attacked,
Anyways, let's get into it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, man. So, again, the name is Brandon. I was born and raised in Jakarta in Indonesia. Grew up there for about 12 years and moved to the United States in 2012. I grew up in Bakersfield when I was here in the U.S. and grew up from a very low-income family, I guess, in America. And back then when I was in Asia, I was the only child, so grew up with my grandparents a lot because my parents actually went to the U.S. in 2004. So I grew up solely with my grandparents. And that's really where I got all of my, I'd say, influence in business and all that different stuff from, because my grandparents, they were in the corporate world. They were investors in real estate to fund their retirement. Nothing crazy. We weren't like wealthy or whatnot, but we were medium kind of, I guess like middle class. Okay. But I think the biggest thing that they did was actually back then, they would put me into these seminars from this, I remember the Singaporean business guy named Adam Ko. And this guy just talks about business and you got to be able to do this and do that. And at the time I was like, I'm just trying to play my video game. Why am I here? And it's one of those things where you receive it and you don't know when you're going to use it until later on. Fast forward, I went to college in San Diego State. Loved San Diego, studied international business because I thought I was going to go into the movie industry. Really wanted to move to Burbank to go to, my dream goal was to work for Disney. That was my ultimate goal back then. If you ask anybody, Brandon wants to work for Disney. Didn't really make it to Disney. The last year of college, basically, I had to fund my own college because my family is very low income here. And it just come across an opportunity where I need to make extra money because I couldn't pay for school. Either I have to take a break or figure out a way to make more money. And I was thinking about what skill sets I do have that I can potentially offer to people. And that ended up leaning into the photography side. So I've been doing the photo and video, I guess space. I've been doing it since I was 14. Taking some pictures on my phone, and I ended up buying a camera with my first job. And it's been just things I do on the side, and started taking photos and videos for people at first around my college area to do graduation photo shoots.
Yeah.
And it ended up being real estate photo shoots. And what I came to realize was a lot of these real estate people, it's not really the nicest photos and videos that they need, but really they need more clients. They need these photos to help them get more business, make more money. And that's how I can make money. And when I realized that around 2022, that's when I really pivoted into the current agency that we have. It's called Short Form Pros. We help a lot of business owners basically succeed in the organic social media landscape by helping them from A to Z in creating content all the way to the distribution side. And that's kind of what I do today.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
What was your first camera?
It was the Canon T5i. It's actually, my first job was at Hollister. I used to be folding clothes. And I remember the way I learned cameras was actually because I borrowed it from my high school. So I was a part of the student body government, and at the time they were having a new initiative with video. And I didn't know anything about video, but I know another guy that was like, we want to make a video student news. And I was like, I'll join in. I'll be your second person. I'm like, whatever. So
it's like something to do.
Something to do, right? Yeah. And so they let me borrow one of the school cameras. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. So I learned everything from a borrowed camera. And one day when I had my job at Hollister, I just saved up like 3 months of my income. I remember it was like $750 at the time, which is a lot for like a 17-year-old me,
Yeah.
And I was like, bought the Canon T5i and started from there.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, I guess so. I know, right? It's just like very cliche, but yeah, I guess.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
I hear quite a few people start with that camera. We actually had another photographer on the show a couple episodes ago.
Nice.
And he it happens very similar, where he saw, in his case, he started because he wanted to publish his writing and poetry online in a different way. And he was interested in photography, so he found a way to mesh the two.
Oh, that's good.
And that also took him to, this was during university, so he also started doing the graduation photos and that sort of thing, and he's still at it to this day, and it's grown from there. So it's cool to see that there's like a similar thing going on with a lot of people. That's
such a life hack. I mean, at the time, what gave me the advantage, I was a part of organizations at school. I'm always a very active person, right? Try to give back, trying to be part of the bigger things. I'm doing too much, basically, But like for a lot of photographers and videographers, really, if you're just like, kind of like need to make a couple $100 at the end of the month, if it's during spring, it's always May to April to around June. That, if you just advertise at the local college near you about graduation photos, you charge about $100 a pop. People won't budge an eye nowadays for $100. You can probably push it to like $150, $180, maybe even $250. And it's like, typically, if you just learn the Pinterest posts and then see where to take pictures at, and you're semi-decent, know how to
edit.
Like buy a preset or something like that, you can make like $2,000 to $3,000 that month. And then just like, that's what I did literally to fund that off. I was like, and if you're in the fall, literally you can take pictures of people like that are graduating in the fall a lot of times, or sometimes like there's master's program that are doing that. That's like
life hack right there.
Literally, it's like nobody talks about it. I mean, it's not as glamorous as like, oh my god, I'm getting this brand project with like Nike. You know what I mean? But like, I was making a little side money.
You were able to eat.
Right? Gas money. Yeah.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So tell me a little more of, how you found this space specifically, because, you mentioned that you saw this need, but was there anybody else doing something like this at the time?
There was. So before, when we were talking about this, I had mentioned, so for the audience out there, off camera, we did speak about this, but for the context for the audience, from that taking pictures and photos of like real estate listings and events, it turned out I started a video production company out of accident, basically. I'm like, okay, I guess it was a company at the time. I don't freaking know. I need to sign up LLCs, whatever, bring in a business model. I think that sounds smart, right? But so I did all that. But basically, I would say after going through the video production side, you're on the project to project basis, right? I just figured out like there must be a better way of doing this, because I was doing it all myself. I was shooting, I was closing the sales, I was invoicing, I was doing the editing. I don't post it for them, but I basically do all the thing, And
set it up so that they just have to click post, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So, and doing the revisions too when they wanted the revisions, right? So I did the whole thing, and I was like, there has to be a way. And I did remember this one time, one of my great friends, now mentor, Chris Luna at the time, and then I've connected with him.
Shout out, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is awesome. Taught me a lot. So he was like, hey, like this guy is doing kind of video stuff, kind of like yours. Maybe you can do something similar like this. And I was like, okay, who's this person? His name is Grayson Stewart. Shout out Grayson. He knows me.
He knows who he is.
Yeah, he's in the coaching space now. But
dope.
Basically at the time he had an agency like helping people edit their videos. I was like, oh, this is interesting. So, sorry, Grayson, I'm a spill my strategy here, but for everybody watching, this is totally fair game. Is I basically got on a discovery call with him, and I just see what he's offering. And I was like, hey, like, I'm just like, I just learned basically.
Dude,
like,
that's so smart.
yeah, I was just like, you know, like if you want to know your competitor, just buy their product or at least get as close as buying as possible, you know? So I just got on a discovery call. I looked at, you know, it's like, so what is it you're selling? You know what I mean? And he explained, he went me through the whole thing. He did a good job. He explained to me his offers. I'm like, cool. And I just, you know, poked around the offer. How did you do that? You know, and I learned from him, I'd say. And I just gave him the idea. I was like, oh, interesting. So, you know, I can use this arbitrage that are happening. It's basically leveraging like, well, they call it outsourcing. They call it leveraging. But basically leveraging like people from the other side of the world to edit for you.
Right.
That way you can alleviate that time. You can focus on the production. You know, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I probably can do that. I can figure that out. So during the call, I was just writing in my hand. I looked at it, I was like paying attention to Zoom, but I was like writing all this stuff right now. You know, just writing all the offers and how he did it. And right after that call, I was like, I think this is it. And so I just like started figuring it out, watching a lot of videos on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube, best degree I've ever gotten out there. You know?
100%.
Yeah, and then just figured it out that way, and then start selling it to people, I guess, in a way. So that's kind of how it started.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
What would you say, if you could think back a little bit, what was like your biggest challenge when you were first starting as far as getting that first sale?
Oh man, there's so many challenges. Like I didn't know how to pitch it. I didn't know how it's gonna work. I didn't know if I could trust the person that I was hiring. I don't know if I paid too much for this person, which I ended up figuring out I kind of did. I didn't know how to make sure the product was good. So there's a lot of challenges, I would say. But the one thing that I'd say like helped me was the mindset as I was like, I was not gonna get this right away. Like like I'm not gonna create the perfect Nike product off the gate. You know what I mean? So I was like, I give myself permission to fail. I guess there's a lot of challenges. Hiring, training, selling. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know what a discovery call was. You know, I thought people would just get on a call with you and then they're supposed to say, yes, I want your product. You know what I mean? So I did tell myself like I need to work on all these stuff and I'm going to work on them kind of like periodically, I guess, in a way. Because
you can't do it all at once.
Yeah, I mean, some people like to go like super deep into sales and just learn that skill and I'm cool, now I'm going to learn hiring. Like for me, I've been like more of like dabbled into all this stuff, kind of like leveling up the skill set altogether. Maybe it's not as fast, but I'm like stacking the skills together in a way. So I've been learning all of them at once through YouTube. But going back to your question, the challenges was a lot. And I put everything on a credit card, to be honest. And I got into debt because of
guy.
Yeah, man. I mean,
that's kind of, you know, what you do, right?
A little side story, actually. When I started my first ever business in college, you know, that Canon T5i, I from my friend Simon, he's a very professional photographer, follow him on Instagram, but he taught me how about the 0% credit cards. I was like, oh, that's cool. So literally, when I first started that with the graduation photos and stuff, I bought my camera, current one that I have, the Sony A7 III, on a credit card. And I remember at the time I had like less than like $500 in my bank account, and I'm paying like $3,000 for the camera and the lens, which is like another $1,000. So it was like $4,000 plus the gimbal. So that was like $4,500, and I have this credit card. I don't know why Chase trusted me with $10,000, but I'm like, they did. I'm like, okay, cool.
It's best not to question it.
Yeah, I know, right? So like, you know, I think there's a lot of challenges, but I did give myself permission to like, I'll you know, I'm not gonna get this right away. I'm just gonna keep going and just keep fixing it and keep getting better. That's kind of how I approach that challenge.
Yeah. I think that's really great. I would say I wish I had that mentality because I thought I had to get it right, like on the first try. Yeah. And that could be because personally throughout my life I've struggled with like being a perfectionist. Like I want things to be pristine and like on point and 100% and kind of like it's not going to be 100% unless I do it type of deal. Yeah. So when it came to like delegation too, that was probably the hardest thing, man. You know, and so it sounds like giving yourself permission to fail is very important when you're starting off, or even now.
And now, yeah.
Right.
I think it's one of those things where. So I've been kind of actually the opposite. I'm like that type of person that's just like, I don't know how it came about. Maybe it's like an only child kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
you're
like,
an only child.
well, at the time I was. Now I have a
okay.
little sister. Like,
That's
didn't
right.
come out like 12 years.
Okay,
We're 12 years apart,
I
right?
thought there was another sibling. I was like, hold up.
I do have another sibling. I love her. She's awesome. But like, I mean, grew up my whole life until I was 14. I was like, you know, an only child. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where one of my big virtue that my grandma told me at the time is like sometimes opportunities don't knock twice.
Ooh.
So you gotta just take it and say yes and run with it, especially when you don't have a reason to say no. Like when you can't be picky. Like my first ever client's like, I can't be very picky. I'm just here to. I'm gonna say yes. I'm just gonna do it. You know, whatever. Like I'm trying to charge $5K a month. I couldn't. They offered me like 1,500. That's a huge discount. But okay, let's run it. You know what I mean? And I'll learn from that. Like I'm not. You know, this might not be the ideal thing, but sometimes opportunities don't knock twice, and you never know where the opportunity would take you. So I guess like on that side, like it's been so far doing it a pretty decent job at keeping me alive, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What
Yeah,
would
yeah.
you advise to someone who's maybe specifically trying to, be in the same space that we are?
Yeah,
That's just starting off.
Don't.
Okay, CEO of NVIDIA.
We're gonna get replaced by AI in about like, you know, a
2
couple of
years'
months.
time.
Yeah. I would say
I'd like to put a pin on that because I want to talk about that too. But
yeah, we can
what would
do that.
Let's start with the advice for the newcomers.
You know, it's funny. I think the advice for the newcomer is, I think this is just in business in general. It's like don't be too fixated on what you're doing, like now. Like it's not gonna be forever. Like I thought when I got into video production, oh my god, I can't leave this like company that I just started. No, like nobody remembered it now. You know what I mean? It's like nobody. So
I
like
still don't even know the name. Let's
yeah,
keep
exactly.
it that way, maybe.
Yeah, it's fun. It's Imaginary is like I joke around. It's like it was an imaginary company. You know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. It's great, but I think it's just like the time horizon is so long that like the faster you can figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what vehicle you want to be in, I think it's the better, in my opinion. And all vehicles work, if you're just like willing to push it far enough. I think, you know, people say like start a social media management agency. Freaking do it. There's people crushing it right now, making like, you know, 100K a month doing that.
Yeah.
Do video production, like you can do that. You can do photography. All of the vehicles work if you're willing to stick with it and get better. And that's the key. If you want to stick with it for a long time and get better, more than likely you probably have to somewhat tolerate it, right? Like you don't have to like love it, but like you got to tolerate what you're working on. If you enjoy at least some parts of the job enough to make the bad parts less significant, I think, because at first I was like, oh my god, I gotta find my passion. Like I think cool, but like,
what does that even mean?
what does that mean? You know, like, you know, I don't know. That's kind of how I see it. Yeah, and that's the biggest advice I'd have.
That's great. That's solid.
I wish I had started sooner. Let's put it that way. Because I feel like
that's always a good one.
Yeah, when I was in college, I mean, I love my friend group and I love everything that I've gotten to. Is like a built me to this day. I think if I was too much in my head, kind of trying to get it like, oh my god, like I'm gonna start business when I was 35. Let's start a business when I'm like about 35. I don't know why 35, but like it sounds kind of about right. I'm at 35. You know, I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna go into the corporate world. Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. I'm like, I'm afraid to believe that there is something that's possible and is possible sooner, right? So like part of the thing when I met that Grayson guy, amazing guy, at the time I was like 22 and he was 18, and I was like, what? You're doing this?
Wait! You were 22.
I was 22 at the
wow.
time, right? When I found out when I met with him, right? And he was 18 and he was making like 40K a month, 30K or something like that. I was like, what? I was like, that's when all my belief was broken. I think in a way I was like, I need to do this now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait for this. I can't wait to, you know, I need to do this now. So I think one of my favorite quotes is like, in order to learn something, you must unlearn some things that has been taught to you. And I think that was like huge, because breaking those beliefs that like why not do it now? Why can't you be successful at this venture, vehicle, whatnot? Or
at this age.
Why can't you do it at this age? Why can't you do it without no experience? Why can't you get experience, right? So I'd say like just do it, Nike. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Solid advice all around.
Yeah.
Going back to the AI thing.
Sure.
Let's touch on that real quick because I am curious to hear from somebody else in the space.
Sure.
Well, first let's start with: do you believe that videography will become obsolete?
That's a very loaded statement. Videographer in general, probably not. Yeah. Well, I think the industry will change significantly. Probably, yeah.
Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
And then as far as AI in general, do you see it as a friend or a foe? At least of what it is today.
as of what it is today what it is today has been a friend so far. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
nice ChatGPT. Where's my phone?
I know, right? Literally, like I always say please and thank you on ChatGPT.
Legit,
always,
bro,
you know what I mean? You never know.
Just in case.
Hey, they're being trained all the time. You know what I mean? So like, I think so far. So this is very interesting. Last week I was at Vid Summit in Dallas to meet with some of the best creators in the world, right? And one of the speakers was Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu, you familiar with him?
Yes.
Yeah. The founder of Quest, sold it for like almost $1 billion, or maybe $1 billion, something like that. And now he's on doing AI ventures. I think some of his speech kind of resonated with me, how with every new technology, there's going to be a branch in terms of like the people that are going to be adopters and people that are going to be refusers, right? Which on both sides, it's okay. Like there's no bad things on either side, I think. And what he mentioned, and this is quoting from him, he said like, you just got to pick a side of which side do you want. Do you want to be completely not with it, or do you want to be completely with it? You can't be like kind of once like in between, right? Or you're going to be one of those people that are like, I'm not gonna send an email. I'm just gonna use a fax printer type of thing. You know what I mean? And so I think you gotta really choose which one you want to go to. And I think in the longer time horizon, I think there's gonna be those kind of like division in terms of like, and people that use AI, I think is gonna be able to be more productive, I guess, in a way.
And that'll definitely attract those types of people who are looking for that.
Yeah.
And especially in the beginning, kind of like with your fax and email situation, right? I'm sure. Especially like in the first decade of the 2000s, there was still people using fax machines, right?
Yeah. So people use it now.
So to this day, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a
lot fewer.
Yeah, but it's still possible, and like to still use those tools.
Yeah.
But something that you're kind of saying about in the long term.
Yeah.
If that's where you're thinking of, then chances are you want to be more than likely an adopter.
I mean, you could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, you can just go off in an island in the distance and not do it.
That's true. Well said.
Sounds kind of nice too, I think what's interesting in the creative space is really honing in. So going back to that, like, is it a good time to get into the space? I would say yes, but I would say you gotta pick the right skill to pursue. So let's put it this way: if you want to become like, you gotta find the skills that is almost hard to replicate. So things like leading people, communicating like visions, or crafting like just an idea to execution, right? Or all these different skills. For example, it's hard to be replaced by AI. If you're like be really good, let's just say on paid ads, because this is a very easy example I can think of. Like, let's say you're really good at running Facebook ads, right? And you're like, I want to just dive deep into like head to toe. I want to be the Facebook ads manager guy, right? Which I think is that gonna change in the next 5 to 10 years? Like probably, right? Like either AI is gonna come into it or something would change, and your skill set is at risk. So I think finding what skill sets that you can jump into that is very, very hard to replace and replicate, I think that's going to be the name of the game.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks.
That's my own opinion. That's my thoughts.
Brandon's opinion.
Yeah.
Which we respect. Don't agree with.
What do you think?
As of today, I've really pushed for my team to adopt the AI tools that are at our disposal. I think it's definitely helped with efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped with an overall better end product. Like, we use the voice enhancer all the time. It's super useful, especially if there's a lot of noise going on, in the setting and you don't have much control over it.
Right.
That's like when I first heard of that, I was like, bro, this is game changer right here.
Game changer.
And so things like that, using all the new aspects from either Photoshop or now even Canva has a very similar thing where you could generate, things around the set. And
I love Canva.
Dude, like it's, oh my gosh.
You can create websites.
If you're not using Canva right now, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I wish we have an affiliate link. That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe we can get one. We'll see.
Probably, yeah. You can build websites, funnels, all that stuff on Canva now.
Yeah.
Not just flyers anymore.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So it's crazy stuff out there. You just, again, like you mentioned, if you want to, you could look into it. You could adopt it or stick to, how things have been working out so far, and that's fine too. But yeah, I like to think for the most part, AI has been a useful tool. I don't believe that even in the long run, there will cease to exist, in totality, need for video, and I'll tell you why. AI is not a human being. You and I are human beings who have gotten to know each other, at least to an extent, right? We know of each other, we respect each other. I can generate a virtual human, but it won't be like a physical being, and I think people in the back of their minds will always know that and will always want like an actual physical person that they can connect with. Unless you're delusional, but that's a different topic.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a piece of the pie for everyone.
We could go on this all day. I'm a futurist myself, and I love like technologies and stuff like that, and it's wild.
For example, your kid playing his first basketball game,
right?
Like your actual physical kid. You could probably generate something pretty close to it with AI at some point in the future. But you're like, it's not going to be your kid. You know what I mean? And so I think moments like that, or like your wedding, stuff like that. I mean, who knows where weddings will be in like 50, 100 years, but beside of the point, I think those moments that even to this day, even with all the craziness going on, like people still appreciate and know to respect those moments. And those moments, they just happen one time. You can never replicate it. No, I don't care how good the AI gets.
Yeah.
So for things like that, I believe anyway, at least as of today, that there will always be a need for someone to capture that and have a human element. Because you could have a robot also capture these things, but something about having a human behind the camera too, like you just know that they're going to really capture the moment and embody the feeling, because that's something that AI also can't do. Might be able to replicate it to an extent, but it won't be a true feeling
yet.
But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, there you go.
So
mic drop.
Maybe not this one though.
Well, stay tuned with the other podcast for our AI talk. That's a different
different podcast. But let's get into the sweet and sour stories now.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll start with the sour, so we could end on a high note.
Sure.
Since starting your business, and this could be either a personal story or a business-related story, what's been one of the toughest situations that you've gone through? What's a story that you could share with the audience?
Ooh, that's a good one. So this is a story for kind of like during my business journey, or can it be like in general?
Yeah, it's you decide.
Okay. Let's see. I think, because on the business side, to be honest, like even like if it's like sour, I don't see it as sour. Like I can work like 16-hour days. Like yesterday, I was up at like 7. That's my first like meeting.
Then you have a meeting at 7 in the morning? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
On Monday, bro, my first meeting was at 8. My last one was at 10:30 p.m.
Sheesh.
On Monday, this past Monday.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like work to me. I don't know.
Okay, well,
like,
that's good.
and that's the thing. So it's not sour. I'll share a sour story. So I think this was back in my high school days. So we're gonna rewind back, and this is gonna help you understand the reason why I'm making this push, I guess, in a way. So it was a seventh period. I was a sophomore, and I was in an AP Euro class. I remember this very vividly. And we were just watching a movie. It's one of those classes. Last period of the day, I was about to leave. And during my time in high school, I usually have this routine. I'm a very big routine guy at the time. And I would go home. I would basically chill for a little bit, take a nap, wake up from a nap, eat dinner, and do my homework all night, play video games. That's always kind of like my routine every day, all right? So I've been doing that for like a year and a half. And I remember this one time in the classroom, I was sitting watching this Euro film about like World War II or whatever. It was, I got a text from my mom. I was like, hey, my mom said like, hey, can you make sure you go, do your homework at school, finish all your homework at school. And I was like why? That's weird. Because like, again, she knows my routine.
Yeah.
I have my routine. I was like 15, 16 at the time. So I was like, I mean, I can, but like, why? What's going on? And I remember she texted me, and the text is like, it's one of those texts where like, it just changed the trajectory of my life, I would say. Because like, I feel like this text have consciously and unconsciously kind of drive me forward in any direction of my life. But basically, she sent me this text. Again, we're almost out of school. She was like, oh yeah, because we might not have electricity for tonight because we're behind on our electric bills, so we might not have lights, so I want to make sure your homework is all done.
Wow.
Yeah. So, AP Euro movie is still playing, but I was just like tuned out. I was 15 at the time, and I was like, I can't do anything. Like, I can maybe contact my grandma, because like, hey, can you send some money? I felt like powerless.
Wow.
In a way, like almost like hopeless in a way too. All right. And I feel like at that time, that's where I remember like just turning like this gear in my head. And I was like, I will never want to feel this way again. I will never want my kids to experience this again, or anybody that I care about, really, for that matter. I'm a very big people guy. I'm like, I think I want everybody to win, And I was like, at that point, I felt like I was just had no option because I was 15. Like, I don't have a job.
Yeah.
I was like, I have like, $100 in my bank account. My grandma gave me. You know what I mean? It's like, So
it's like I'm $50 short.
I don't think I even had a bank account back then. I was like, I was too little to have a bank account. Or at least at the time. So I was like, I felt like that moment where it just shifted. I was like, I think without being formally happening, I kind of made like a little deal with my head. I was like, I'd never want to feel this way. I want to make sure I do whatever it takes to build a life where at least I don't have to feel like have no option, or my kids have no option on where to go.
Yeah.
So, So I guess that's like,
Dang.
Understanding the context of the story is probably like one of the biggest shift and pivot in my life that have ever happened. There's many of those along the way, but I think those are probably one of the biggest ones that have been like, okay, like whenever I fell down, I'm just like, okay, I think about that time and I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. Like I've, men like us, like we have the time, we have the energy, we have the capability, the tools that our parents don't have. It's like there should be no excuse not being able to figure this out. So, yeah, that's a little sour story, I guess. In that
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
That's really crazy.
Not a lot of people know about that, but yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Of course, man. Yeah.
And you said you were 15. Dang.
Like, imagine being a 15-year-old. Like, you're like, So, to add a little sweetness to that story, like at the end of the night, we didn't end up getting our electricity turned off. Luckily, there was like some help from like a church. Like we weren't even religious at the time, but it was like some church just helped us pay our bills. I'm like, so we didn't have the electricity taken out. But I remember like it stung. Yeah, it did. It's like it's kind of like just like echoed in my head of like it doesn't even echo. It's like the text. It's just like I'm just repeating a text, not even a phone call. But I can almost felt like how my mom felt in that text. It felt very like just not good. So I was like, and I was like, she's probably doing her best right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's like a mix of emotions. I was like angry, but I was like pissed. And I was like, man, like what? Like other kids in my class were thinking about like, oh, like my parents are going to buy me like a new car next month. Stuff like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Where I'm like figuring this out, like out in the clothes, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Crazy.
We definitely, we all have different turn of the switch moments in our lives, and that sounds like it definitely was one for you. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I really think like it's happened for a reason, right? I mean, when I used to live in Asia, like I was the only child living with my grandparents. You know, you're living with your grandparents, you're kind of spoiled a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, they spoil you all the time.
yeah, like I want some KFC, and they're like, go in. You know what I mean? So I think I think everything that happens in our life, like literally, it's there for a reason. So I think that moment really, now looking back at it, happened for that reason. To kind of just like, all right, this is what you need to wake up, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need to. And at that point, I remember like, okay, it's getting serious in school. I was always the good kid throughout. Never gone to parties at high school. Like despite like I was just like studying in orgs. I was trying not to be home. A lot because trying to do stuff. But yeah.
Dang, dude. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say we flip the coin now?
Mm-hmm.
We get into the sweet story.
The sweet story.
So, up until now, again, both personal or business related, but since starting your business, what's been one of those really just amazing, feeling like you're on top of the world type of moments that you've experienced? What comes to mind?
There's two things that comes to mind. One of them is when I genuinely see the results in the clients that I work with. So it sounds kind of cliche when people hear this from like, I don't know, the internet, social media, but it does to me. When I started this business and all that, like I wanted to make sure that I'm bringing good impact for people. That's why I feel like the listing photos and listing videos, I mean, they're cool, but it's not bringing the impact that I wanted to get. Because I feel like that's not really what they want. It's kind of more of like a necessary thing that they need to have, right? So it felt like I'm just like, okay, like you need to get a haircut. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. Actually, take that back. Haircut is very important. I really value my haircut.
Your barber watching this like, bro, what the heck?
Bro, I've been with my barber for 4 years. Oh, no, 6 years, man. I was like, this barber is amazing, you know? I love him. But anyways, I think when I genuinely see the impact that I'm creating with my like, almost like hard work into it. You know, when client says like, oh my God, like I've just got 2 deals from a DM. And, you know, I was like, that's amazing. I just got recognized at the airport. I just got like 40,000 views. I just got 50,000 followers. I just got, I don't know, even as simple as like I just 2 loans closed from the YouTube video that we created. Stuff like that brings me those joys that makes it worth it, you know, in the downs. Because I mean, business is always up and down. Sometimes like things mess up, and then you know your team whatever got sick, or you have things happen. But those are the little wins that I think makes it enjoyable. And I guess the second thing that came to mind was actually recently in June.
Okay.
So in June, I flew back to Jakarta. I was actually surprising my grandpa because my grandpa was turning 80. So me and my family, we all flew back, the one that's here. And we kind of surprised him, kind of didn't. He kind of expected it already. But because my family just like, oh, yeah, we're coming back. And I was like, but it was just a quick 10-day trip, just taking it out of work. And I remember, obviously there was the birthday and stuff like that. My grandparents were like my parents growing up. They're like the one that taught me all the ropes, the values, and all that stuff. So I remember on one of the last days, I borrowed some Indonesian money from my grandma because I didn't have any Indonesian money, right? I have dollars, and I was about to pay my grandma back, and I was like, oh yeah, here I have like $100 US, like here, I can just pay you back. And she's like, no, just give that to your grandpa. And I was like, you sure? I was like, I'm gonna pay you back. You just lent me money. It's like, yeah, just don't worry about it. Like, just don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. So like, I went to my grandpa, and he was like eating or something like that, He's like your old school. He's not very he's very like old school guy. He's like basically the landlord grandpa type of vibe.
Okay.
He like he's the one. He literally had like a checkbook of like, did they pay this month? They not pay. They know every single person type of thing.
Yeah.
And my grandma was more the business person at the time. Handles all the finances, all the money. And I went up to him. I was like, look, like here's like $100 for you. I just gave him $100. And I feel like the joy that he had on his face, it's kind of like, wow. He's like, my grandson just gave me like $100 US bill. Like it's almost that sense of like proudness, you know what I mean? I guess that's the word.
I think pride.
Pride. Yeah, it's pride. Yeah. Because, it's probably hard for them when I left in 2012, you know, and they just left, leave by themselves now. Nobody's at home, right? And then like, obviously throughout the journey, all those things that are happening, like I'm in contact with them, right? They know the ups and downs, and I think, you know, it's not really the monetary value that was like important. It was not the $100, but it's like the significance where
behind
like
it.
behind it, because I feel like you know, the whole time growing up, I've always been taking, right? It's kind of what we do as kids, right? We like taking and just giving it back to them as like a symbol of like, look, you know, whatever you gave me was worth it. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, this is pretty, and he was like so happy.
Like it's kind of like, it's your turn now to take from me.
Yeah, in a way, I just like, look, like here, like, you know, is like, you know, it's kind of like,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so I think that was like one of like those core memories. I think it was like, okay, that's awesome. So, yeah, and then yeah, that's basically what happened.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. If you know, someone else on the show also shared a similar sentiment.
Yeah.
And you know, in their case, they were able to, first of all, like his parents were willing to give them basically like what they had for retirement to invest into the company that he started, and he was able to come back years later, and I think he like easily like 5 to 7x, I think, their investment or something like that. And the guy got emotional sharing that. You know, it's like, one, just the fact that they believed in him. You know, because I mean, the retirement money, that's a huge,
that's a lot,
right? And talk about pressure. You know,
oh, for sure.
So like the fact that years later he was able to give them so much more in return.
Yeah.
Like he was just like you said, like it's just one of those moments that are just gonna stick with you. You know?
Yeah.
So
and it's always one of those things where like you're not gonna be buried with your money. You know what
that's
I mean?
true. That's very true. There's a song in Spanish that all we take when we die is a pile of dirt.
That is true. I mean, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So you know.
So yeah, there you go. So might as well give it to your loved ones, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I
think that's the right thing to do, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
yeah, man.
We're basically wrapping up now, bro.
Cool.
2 more questions, basically.
Let's hear it.
Second to last. Music related.
Okay.
Are you like a music file? What do they call that? Like do you love music?
I like music a lot. Yeah. I listen to a lot of music.
You might like this question then. If you had to choose your current life soundtrack, what song would that be?
Oh, I think about this a lot, actually.
Oh.
It'd be Broken Arrows by Avicii. You know Avicii?
I know
DJ?
Avicii. Yeah, of course.
It's called Broken Arrows. It's one of his older popular songs. But I think there's a line where I'm trying to remind the chorus here, but the chorus says, like, what was it? I'm trying to remember this. It's a really good chorus. Can I look this up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my phone's over there.
Oh, dang it.
But yeah, I think
what's the essence of it?
The essence of it is basically you, like, even though it's like you have so much hope that even though you're shooting with a broken arrows, that you know you're gonna hit it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's like the whole song's about. So I think, like, you know, a lot of us probably have those like imposter syndromes. I mean, if you're like, it doesn't matter if you're in business or not, you probably have imposter syndrome. And then like you're probably at one point not good at something. And it's like the essence is like, if you just like have hope and actually believe in yourself, even though if you're shooting with even though if you're shooting for broken arrows, you'd hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really good. I don't recognize the song by title, so I'm definitely gonna have to look it up and listen.
It's not one of the popular. It is a popular one, but another thing about that song is like in the music video, because I love watching music videos too. Do you watch the Olympics?
This past one?
Or any Olympics?
I have in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know like the high jump? Not with the pole, but like just a high jump where they have to go over a bar and they fall into like the mattress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you know how like they jump and they usually like went back first?
Yeah.
And went back first into the mattress, right? To kind of get the high jump. So the video is actually about the first guy that invented that jump. Because he's from the US, I forgot his name. But before, the way you do a high jump is kind of you just jump forward, kind of like, trying to lean yourself forward or like hop it with a leg type of thing.
Right.
Kind of like hurdle, but not really. But the music video to that song was kind of like about the story of this guy where he got rejected from his like team. He was not like qualified to be in the Olympics because he was insisted that like he wants to do the jump this way. And he basically tried and kept trying and showing to the coach that he could do it. And then somebody gave him a spot and he started breaking records at his local areas, doing the jump that he did. And everybody started looking like, what the heck is he doing? He's jumping very different.
Yeah.
And then he ended up going to the Olympics and winning gold into the high jump. And now it becomes the standard of everybody jumping like that, right? If you think about it. But before him, nobody was jumping like that. He just believed that he could do it.
Yeah.
Even though he was shooting without broken arrows, right? He's like, I know I'm doing something right. You know what I mean?
I know
like,
I might look a fool.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I love that story. I think it's really cool. But yeah.
That's dope, man. I didn't know that story. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into this guy's name and his story. Then, like,
I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link in the
Okay.
video. It's called Broken Arrows by Avicii. Watch the video on YouTube. It's really good.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Man.
Last question.
Let's do it.
Where can people find you online
Mhm.
and continue to follow your journey?
If they just Google Brandon Fortino, BrandonFortino, you'll get all of my socials in there, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my YouTube. So, yeah, it's pretty easy to find.
Dope.
I'm the one with the red jacket, so you just find.
There you go. Just find the guy with the red jacket.
Yeah.
And
There's another Asian guy without the red jacket. It's probably not me.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
awesome, bro. Do you ever Google yourself?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Do you still to this day?
Sometimes.
And
Because so there's this new term in marketing, not new term, this is an old term, but like in marketing, you always talk about like how Googleable are you? If you're a
very true.
person or a company, how Googleable are you? Because like
Okay.
the more you show up, the easier people will find you,
That's
and
true.
the more credible you seem. You know, that's why I'm huge into content. Because if you post content on all the platforms, it will make you more Googleable by default. It helps the SEO. People are like, I'm trying to hack this SEO, trying to show this. Like, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Like, it does
Just
work.
post more content.
Right,
Pretty much, right?
Exactly. I mean, SEO is pretty much like putting the right words in the content.
Oh, there you go.
You know, it's
Yeah.
basically another form of content written a lot of the times. But, yeah. But I do Google myself and my clients to see like how Googleable they are, Because, try
Okay.
that.
That's a different perspective. Because I
Yeah.
hear the opposite. Well, mostly with like super, like, celebrity status, and they're like, yeah, don't Google yourself or whatever. But that's probably
Yeah.
because they're at a much bigger level where there's like more negativity that comes with it too, I assume.
Oh, maybe.
Right?
I come from the perspective of the marketing piece of like, how discoverable are you?
Yeah.
That's kind of, I don't come in from like, I just want to see like what people are saying.
Yeah.
I'm more
that
of
makes
like,
sense.
is there any other Brandon Fortinos out there that are competing with me? You know what I mean? Like, basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, is there any other guy? Okay, there's none. Okay, that's good. Okay,
Then we're good.
Yeah.
For now. Let me put my gun away. No, I'm just
Especially
kidding.
if you have like a very like common name, like,
Mm.
and then you are posting content or doing all this stuff, having a business, like that's a fun one because you're like, okay, like I've had this
John
guy,
Smith. Okay.
something like that, because I've had this guy like, okay, there's this other guy that always shows up on the very top of the Google, but you're like second. Let's make you first. What kind of keywords he's searching for? Let's get you in the first one. You know what I mean? If you're very common, they have a common name, but I think it's a game.
Nice. Dang, so I should use my full name more often than my last name isn't very common. So that's what I'm taking away. I mean, a few other things obviously that you mentioned earlier, but I think the Google ability.
Yeah, it is. It's a term. It's a SEO term. And then you can flip it in your company name. You can also make your company more Googleable. My company is probably not Googleable, and that's just being frank because I didn't kind of meant it to be Googleable. It's more like I want like me. Like if you're working with my company, you're working with me most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So until we rebrand, maybe then
There you
change
go.
the strategy. Yeah.
Well, until then, people, you know where to find this guy.
Yep.
Thank you so much, bro, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, my man. Appreciate it. Long time to come. There you go.
Yes, sir. But it's here. I'm happy we did it. I hope the audience got some value from the conversation. If you did, please consider subscribing. We can bring more amazing guests like this, to bring more value to you. And
subscribe to this guy.
Oh, thank you.
Get it. Just like, come on. Like, you know.
I appreciate
Watch
it.
this podcast. Watch the other ones too.
Yeah. There's some really, really good ones in there. So
Yeah.
all that's left to say is have a beautiful day.